Hello all, this is the socially awkward Ben Wallens, and welcome back to Music Theory. And as promised, I will go over this review of what we went through last time, and I think I'll kind of give us a refresher of this kind of thing. But I think there's reviews. Anyway, music is written on a 5-line staff, though there are 4 spaces on that staff. Notes on the higher lines and or spaces sound higher than notes on lower lines and or spaces. The treble clef establishes the note G on the 2nd line. The bass clef establishes the note F on the 4th line. Notes are named after the first 7 letters of the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There we go. That's a beautiful lesson. Now we get into notes, the whole, half, and quarter notes. Yeah, fun. It is, because even if you're listening to notes, you need to know how long they are, whenever they're playing, and all that stuff. That is a whole note, that is a half note, and that is a quarter note. The quarter note is a solid colored in thing, where the half note is not, and the whole note doesn't even have a stem on it. So, 1 whole note equals 2 half notes. 1 half note equals 2 quarter notes. 1 whole note equals 4 quarter notes. So 1 whole note equals 2 half notes or 4 quarter notes, basically. There are other notes that we're going to get into later, but right now we're just dealing with these. That would be the equivalent of a whole note, but it's just quarter notes running down. And quarter notes running up. It really only works whenever you're reading music. Like I said, though, you can tell kinda how, especially when you're doing music, it's good to know this, because you need to know what kind of note you're putting in, if you're playing piano or playing guitar, ukulele. Whatever note would fit in with whatever part you're playing. So, and it's good to know this. And I keep saying that, even though we have technology, and even though we have like the digital audio workspaces and piano rolls, we still need to know if we're using a half note or quarter note, because it's all beat oriented. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. With a metronome, which, by the way, I'll reiterate here, the metronome is your friend. Remember that, because it keeps you on beat. And then, if you're using multiple programs to do stuff, make sure that the tempo is your tempo set at the same tempo on all projects as you're working on. So whenever you consolidate each project into one, you don't have one at, say, at 118, one at 122, and you're working at 120. So make sure that all your tempos match up. How fast your song is. Anyway, so metronome, 1, 2, 3, 4, or keeping the beat, keeping the time. You need to make sure that you're on it. When a conductor does his little, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I know we don't have conductors whenever we're playing in bands or anything like that, but the drummer is kind of the conductor, because he does the beat and you're supposed to follow along with it, and he's going like this, and you're like, I can't follow where he's going. What? Anyway, you need to know, okay, so if you're doing a 4, and this is just a 4/4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you have other inferences on this, what the conductor does, depending on what the time signature is. And if you're only in a 4/4 time signature, which I use, I don't know how to use really those other time signatures. Having Asperger's, autism, it leaves me fuddled. I have come up with cool things that are like in 3/4 times, and then I get all mixed up because I'm like, I don't know how to make this work. So it confuses me whenever I try and go into other time signatures. Confuses me a lot. And so far 4/4 has worked for me. But depending on however many beats are in there, it depends on how many notes. If you were in a 6/8, I think you have 6 beats, or 6/4, sorry. If you have 6 beats in that measure, then you would need a whole note and a half note in there to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in that aspect. Same with 3, but 3 you would only need a half note and a quarter note, or 3/4 notes. You couldn't even do a whole note at that point because a whole note is 4 beats. So if it was a 2/4 measure or a 3/4 measure, you couldn't use a whole note in it. You would only have 2 or 3 beats, depending on if it was a 2/4 or 3/4. Yeah. So even though you may not read music, you still need to know the difference between a whole note, half note, quarter note, and the other kind of notes that there are, because that depends on what you're doing within the beat. If you're going fast, and you'll probably do less than a quarter note, which would go into your, I believe they're called eighth notes. It would go into that aspect. And if you're going more for the slower piece or something like that, you would keep with whole notes. And it all transpires with beats. It transpires with a beat, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, keep rehashing that. Anyway, so I think that okay, let's do this real quick, because this is kind of what I was going at. Measures. We'll talk about time signatures next. But these are measures, and this would be where those whole notes are. Actually, we'll do time signatures since I kind of touched on that now. We still have a little bit of time too. So time signatures are placed at the beginning of a piece of music. They contain 2 numbers that show the number of beats or counts in each measure and the kind of note that receives 1 beat. The top number shows the numbers of beats or counts in each measure. The bottom number shows what kind of note gets 1 beat. 4/4 means 4 beats in 1 measure. The 4 on top means 4 beats in 1 measure, and the 4 on the bottom means a quarter note gets 1 beat. So that's what the bottom 4 is. So if it's 2/4, then the quarter note gets a beat, and you have 2 beats per the measure. 3/4. So if it's a 6/4, then you would have 6 beats in that measure, and the quarter note would get 1 beat. So here, look at this. The 4/4 time. Oh man. There, see, 4/4. So that measure shows 4/4. This is what it would look like. 4/4 for a whole note, 4/4 for a half note, and 4/4 for quarter notes. That's what it would look like. And that's what I was talking about, was the beat thing. So keep that in mind. Even if you're not, like I said, even if you're not reading music, keep that in mind. So I may have a little bit of time here. So the duration of musical sound is indicated by 2 different types of notes. 1 whole note equals 2 half notes. 2 half notes equals 1 whole note. 4 quarter notes equals 2 half notes. 2 quarter notes equals 1 half note. Stems go up if the notes are below the 3rd line. Stems go down if the notes are on or above the 3rd line. Stems go up. Going up are attached to the right side of the note. Stems going down are attached to the left side of the note. Music is divided into measures separated by bar lines. The end of a piece of music is indicated by a double bar line. The top number of a time signature shows the number of beats in each measure, and the bottom number of a time signature shows what kind of note gets 1 beat. The 4/4 time, there are 4 beats in each measure and 4 notes, and a 4 note gets 1 beat. And on that, I'll leave you.